I woke up so inspired to do a one-day project. So I went to my garage and grabbed some 1x4s. I cut down two 30-inch boards and four 18.5-inch boards. I wanted this little mini shelving unit that I was building to be 30 inches tall and 20 inches wide. I wood glued and nailed that together, leaving 9 inches of space for each shelf. And then I went to Lowe's in search of a pretty piece of trim that reminded me of an old picture frame. So I brought those home and cut them down. I wanted to make sure that that thicker piece of trim sat flush with the inside edge of that shelving unit that I built. I also mitered the edges so that everything met at 45 degrees and it looked like a picture frame. I wood filled the corners and the nail holes, cleaned that up a little bit, and then grabbed some half rounds to use as shelf rails. I glued those in, and once it was dry, I spray painted it champagne bronze by Rust-Oleum. I did 2 coats just to really cover that trim, and once it was dry, I brought it upstairs, hung it up on the wall, grabbed some things from around the house and leftover objects that I had for the bathroom to decorate it with. It pulled everything together. But the best part about this project is you can totally customize it to whatever you want. You can pick your own trim, you can pick your own colors, you can change the size, the shape, really make this one your own. So I hope you give it a try and let me know if you do.
40 years ago, my grandma painted this wonderful painting, and I want it to last forever and make it a keepsake. Now we're going to start on one corner of the painting, and we're going to go to all 4 corners. We've got to measure so we can build our frame around the back. On the top, it's 19 inches, and what we're going to need is 2 pieces. We've got to cut these at a 45-degree angle to match the bevel of the painting. So we start with one end, cut it, measure the 19 inches, and we're going to also cut a 45-degree corner on that piece. Remember, we got to cut 2 pieces. Once you get it cut, check to make sure it's nice and 45 degrees with all of it. Now it's time for the nails. I love using air guns, and so the nails had to be just enough to go through them all. Easy to use, just load them in the gun, and then we're going to put some glue on all the ends. Nails work great, but the glue is also going to make it strong. Put all the corners together, and as you can see, they line up really nice, especially if you cut them right in the beginning. So we're going to use the nail gun, and we're going to do all the corners. You can use 2 or 3 in each side, but once you get it together and the glue dries, it's going to make it super strong. Now it's time to put some shelves in. I want to put one piece right up the middle, cut it, put it in, and then we're going to build 2 little shelves. Hold these together with some brad nails also. We're going to go ahead and sand it. Sanding is a great way for the stain to go ahead and penetrate the wood, and you can get rid of all the lettering on this board. This is a 1x3, so the painting won't stick out too far from the wall. Once you get it sanded up, it's time to stain. Go ahead and choose the color that closely matches the frame color that you're going to put this on. Once you do it, go ahead and use a brush, or I like to use a towel. I can dip it and it goes a lot farther than using a brush. Also, if it gets too thick or too thin, I can just wipe on more or less. If you have any excess stain, make sure you wipe it off. Now it's time to get some hinges. I wanted to use some decorative hinges, and what I'm going to do on the frame is mark it and drill it out. It takes the screws better, and I won't worry about splitting the wood. When we put them on, if you pre-drill and you do it with the right size drill bit, you don't have to use the drill to put the screws on. You can just use a screwdriver. Now once it's on the frame, go ahead and drop it on the frame right there, and we're going to go ahead and do the same thing and drill it out. Put the screws in. Once you get them nice and tight, it's time to put that hanger back on. Just go ahead and nail those little nails right in, and then we can hang it on the wall. Once it's hung up, now we've got the shelves in, and it makes a great location for all your keepsakes, especially for me, anything that has to do with my grandmother. This thing will make a wonderful keepsake, and it's something that I can pass down from generation to generation. I can't wait to give it to one of my daughters someday. And the great thing, it's a great showpiece. From the front, it looks absolutely great, and on the side, it doesn't stick too far from the wall. I hope you enjoyed this DIY project as much as I did making it. Thank you for watching Home Talk, and we'll see you next time.
I've been wanting to create a piece of art with a thrifted window frame, but I haven't been able to find one, so I decided to make my own. I'm starting this project with the frame. I want to paint it to look like an old window, so I'm using this beige colored paint for the base layer. Now that I have that layer on, I want to create some texture on the frame. I'm going to use this thick texture medium and with a small trowel to put it on. The paste is going to harden and give the frame the look of an old layered paint that's been on there for a long time. Now that the texture medium is dry, I'm going to cover those spots with the same beige paint that I used for the first layer. Next, I want to make my faux window panes on the glass. To do this, I'm going to find the middle both vertically and horizontally and start with a piece of painter's tape marking those spots. I want to add one piece of tape to either side now so that I can remove the middle, and that's going to create a space where I can paint and create panes. Using some white chalk paint, I can now fill in that middle part of the painter's tape and make my faux window panes. With everything painted, I want to create the flowers on the window now. I've chosen some folk art type flowers that I love, and I've printed them out. This is the perfect way to create a piece of art if you don't feel confident hand painting something. I'm going to arrange and tape these to the front of the glass with the pictures facing through to the back. I actually want to paint the flowers on the back of the glass so that it looks like you're looking through a window when you see them. Using small artist brushes, I can now paint each of the flowers using the printed flower as my guide. I'm just using fun folk art colors that match the style of the flowers and the stems. I'm probably going to need to paint each one of them twice just to make sure the paint is nice and dark. Now that everything's dry, I can go ahead and remove the pattern flowers and then find a new place for my piece of art. How fun is this piece? I love that I was able to turn the thrifted frame into something special. I hope this has inspired you to give your old frame or window a makeover as well. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Home Talk. I'll see you next time.
So I ran down to Home Depot to grab some decorative trim. What we want to do is cover the frame of the TV. Your key to this is to turn all your miter saws to 45 degrees. That's going to be every cut that you make. Start with your first cut right on the end at 45 degrees, and then you're going to measure right from the inside cut all the way down the length of the TV. That's where your next miter cut is going to be. Turn the saw to the other way and give it another 45 degree cut. Once you get that cut, you're going to go ahead and match it to the next part. That way you don't have to use a tape measure and you can get the top and bottom frame the exact same size. Just use a pen to mark it out and cut it. Once you get all 4 pieces cut, lay it out, make sure it's all smooth and ready to go. But the secret to this is you gotta have glue. That's gonna hold all the pieces together. Now, just don't lay out a bead. You wanna smooth it out so it has as much adhesion as possible. As the glue is laid out, just go ahead and put it right up next to it and make sure you get those nice smooth lines. Next, you gotta get some flat corner braces. That's what's gonna hold these frames together. Just mark out the holes, but you gotta be careful. We need to pre-drill all the holes. That way the screws hold inside this MDF wood as easy as possible. Once you pre-drill, the screws go in without a drill. You can just use a regular old screwdriver to put them in. Make sure you get it nice and tight, but don't over tighten. We just want to make sure it's snug and it's holding in place. These corner braces do a great job holding it together. Once you get all 4 sides, we got to build a box. That way we can cover the sides of the TV. I use a little bit of 1x4, and again, you got to use that glue. It holds the sides together. Again, we're going to use 45 degree cuts, and look how smooth that is. You can use screws or nails, but I go ahead and use a brad nailer. It's real easy to use, and it puts a nice fine fastener right inside. I just use 3 on the side, and it gives it a nice smooth look. Now, again, we're going to go with the glue. We got to put it all the way around the box frame we just built because we're going to lay the frame on top. If you measured right and did good and took your time, it's going to fit just right. The last thing you need to do on this is use the brad nailer again and put just a few brad nails to hold it together. Once you get those in, let's cover up them nail holes with a little bit of spackle. Just let that dry and sand it clean. Now it's time for some gold paint. Any type will work, but as you can see, it's going to take a couple of coats. I did put 3 coats on here. Let them dry about half an hour in between coats. The next thing we got to do is we got to put a little bit of Velcro on the TV. That's going to hold the frame in place once we install it. It just looks amazing. When you're not watching TV, you've got your own portrait. I hope this inspired you to build your own DIY television frame. Thanks for watching Home Talk, and we'll see you again.